Well, hello and welcome to this week's video blog entitled A Journey to Wholeness. This is a Thursday of the second week of Lent, and we continue to reflect on the meaning of being a person, a self, and our relationships to God and others. In the Anglican prayer book and in most liturgies, for liturgical churches, we have some words which say that we must love God with heart, mind and spirit and strength. We should love our neighbour as ourselves. So a part of the core understanding of being a human being within the particular Christian tradition is to love self as we love another, as also to love God. So the shape is you love yourself, you love your neighbour, and you love God. They're the three dimensions. So loving self is I think is the best place to start, is rather than out there or over the hill in another country. So what does it mean by self, and how do we think of self as a human being who has a story to tell? We all have stories to tell. In my training as a psychotherapist in the degree at Emory, we would spend a lot of time sitting with people, hearing those stories. They would tell the stories of a relationship, be it a person. They would have a relationship with their body. They would have a relationship with the skill set. They would relate to abilities they have. They would have a relationship with their particular values, and they would also have a relationship with the beliefs. And when there's disequilibrium between a relationship of self and beliefs, there's anxiety, there's confusion. For example, you believe that God says do not kill, but then there's an execution of a prisoner in Georgia. So if you believe that life is important, but then you find yourself in conflict with a cherished belief. You have a value, might have a value that's important to always tell the truth, but then someone one day says, I've just got this new outfit on, and what do you think of it? And you look at it and say, in your head you go, it looks terrible. But then they ask you, you say, oh, it looks great, you look great. So you have a espoused value, I believe in telling the truth, but then sometimes one doesn't tell the truth. We have a relationship with our abilities. For example, I had the ability prior to the stroke to type with both hands at the same time about 40 words a minute. Now I don't have that ability. So my sense of self has been challenged and is different because of a change in an ability. I still have my values, I still have my beliefs. And of course, the other thing that we are in relationship with is one's own body. And when we think of having a body, we have ability to see, vision, we can hear, auditory, our body feels is kinesthetic, we can smell, and we can taste. So we have a relationship with our body. And of course, if you suddenly go deaf in one ear, your sense of self becomes different, because now a person who is maybe a bit deaf, or in my instance, as a previous blog, I was diagnosed with diabetes. So I have diabetes, and therefore I have a relationship with my body and diabetes. So therefore I have to live with my body. I can't just think it away. I cannot go and learn a course which will change everything. So as being a self has these what I call levels of identity. The first being a body, next up skills, then your abilities, and then values and beliefs. And so Lent it's an opportunity to reintegrate a sense of self whereby we are in alignment with our body, the skills we have, abilities, our values, and our beliefs, and that creates an integrated, I would suggest, sense of self. And as I said in the last blog, it's impossible, I think, to do a self-examination because we can't see ourselves as other people see us. So, for example, in my preparation to be a psychotherapist, I saw folk for premarital counselling, and a couple came to me in the early 90s and premarital, and I said the first time to the couple, so I said to her, tell me why you want to marry him, for better for worse, we want to have these babies and live together. They were in their early 20s for decades. Why do you want to, well, he's the one, why him? I said, tell me. So I'm listening for her story. She goes, well, he writes beautiful poetry. I went, oh. I said, to you. I said, the fella, tell me why you want to be with her, have babies, live together for decades. What's about her in particular that you just, here you are. And he said, looking at her, and she looked at him, he said to me, she loves my poetry. And I was like, I thought, is this on candid camera? I'm like, this is real. And I'm like, I thought in my head, boy, this is not going to go very far, Now they sat there and they had what I would call an ethic of earnestness. It's an ethic of being earnest. And so, being, out of seminary since 1985, I've listened to a lot of people tell me about themselves. And people tell me with a very convincing narrative, look me straight in the eye and say something, and they're earnest about it. But as I listen to the story, it doesn't match up, or it's glaringly wrong, This couple could not see, they could not look in the mirror as two of them at the same time look at themselves and have an object view that we're getting married for a really good reason. He's a writer, she loves his poetry. I said to them, that's going to work out really good. The only problem I can think is if you have writer's block. They do not get my joke. So people tell stories, plausible stories, which are convincing, and it's ethic of earnest, yes or no, and whereby we avoid the real work of Lent. We are earnest when we tell God something. We're earnest and we something else. Well, I'm going to support my church. And as I said last week, we make vows, and we have no idea that these vows, can we actually keep them, because they're the future. They're ideal. I remember the first time that I was taught about lying. It was by my mother. I was about 11. And one day in the farmhouse, the phone rang. My mum picked up the phone and said, hello, Joyce Elliott. And the person rang for my father, John, who was sitting in his chair about 10 feet from the phone. He would never get out of the phone. Someone else had to. That's another story. And she goes, one minute I'll check. You could hear this guy asks for Dad. And he just looks at me, he kind of scowls. She goes, oh, no, John's not available. His moment is not put into Wildbower. So she told us plausible stories. It was as earnest, right? Mum was earnest, believable tone, and hang up, and I'm, I'm listening to this, I'm watching this. I said I'm at 10 or 11. And then next day I said, Mum, when you answered the phone last night, you didn't tell the truth. Like, Dad was sitting there, and he didn't want to talk to who that was. Well, why did you tell the person you couldn't? We just say, well, he doesn't want to talk to you. I mean, you know. She said, well, Paul, and how did mean to change it? Well, Paul, it's like this. There wasn't a real lie. It was a white lie. And I'm like, white? Yeah. She says, a white lie is when you tell about something to somebody else, but it doesn't really hurt them. You know, you just, you know, sometimes someone says, you know, is my dress nice? And you look at the dress and think, no, it looks like a, you know, corn sack. But you say, oh, it's very nice, you know. That's a white lie, but it doesn't hurt anybody. I'm like, oh, okay. He said, but then there are black lies. Very earnest. The black lies are bad. That's when you say something and it hurts somebody. Like, you know, if you stole something and said, you take it, and you say, oh, no, me, it was him. That's a black lie. And so, I'm like, oh, that's pretty interesting. So, let us think about that for a moment. I go, so when we confess, when we self-examine, when we engage in the act of contrition, I wonder if we're kind of sorting in your head, well, that's a white lie, so it's okay. You know, don't need to confess that one. I was being kind to my family. I told them they don't look, you know, whatever. Or, you know, the running joke for me, a lot of people is, isn't that this beautiful baby ever seen? I thought, I'll baptize a what baby? And then all, not good, as in beautiful. So, if we are sorting the truth, do we know whether we actually are sorting the truth or sorting lies? And how do we know that? Well, it's pretty damn hard, because as the young couple shared with me, and now you, they thought they were telling the truth. But as I sat there, I thought, no, it's plausible, but I don't believe it. God knows our truth. God knows our black lies. God knows our white lies. And so I invite you perhaps to reflect on the narrative, how you describe yourself to others, the misfortunes in your life, the abuses or the hurts, and the slings of outrageous fortunes. That's your narrative. And it may be that if you tell a plausible story about your life, your job, your boss, your kids, maybe it's not as clear as one would hope, and maybe the truth does not lie in your story. Stay well, live strong and live long, and I'll see you again next week.